What if I told you that the first few minutes after you wake up could quietly determine the quality of your entire day? Before the phone rings, before the notifications begin, before your boss, your family, your responsibilities, your problems, or the outside world gets a chance to speak to you, there is a small window of silence where your mind is unusually open. And what you put into that mind during those first moments can either build your strength or invite chaos. Think about the last time you woke up already stressed. Maybe you opened your eyes and immediately remembered the unfinished work from yesterday. Maybe you thought about an argument you had with someone. Maybe you checked your phone and saw a message that instantly changed your mood. Or maybe you couldn't even explain why you felt anxious. You simply woke up carrying a heaviness you couldn't name. The strange part is that nothing had actually happened yet, and yet your day had already begun badly. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes more than an ancient collection of ideas. It becomes a practical weapon for modern life. The Stoics understood something most people learn only after years of struggle. If you don't choose where your attention goes, something else will choose for you. The world will always demand your attention. People will test your patience. Problems will appear. Plans will fail. Someone will disappoint you. Your mind will create fears about tomorrow and replay mistakes from yesterday. But you don't have to meet all of that unprepared. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 powerful phrases to tell yourself every morning. They are simple enough to remember, but powerful enough to change the way you think, respond, and live. And I want you to stay until the final one, because the 5th phrase may completely change the way you look at your time, your relationships, and even your own life. You don't need an expensive morning routine. You don't need an hour of meditation. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You simply need a few intentional words before the world gets a chance to fill your head with noise. So tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, remember these 5 phrases, because the way you speak to yourself in the morning may become the way you experience the entire day. Number 1, I'm grateful to be here. There is something almost unbelievable about waking up. You open your eyes, you breathe, you can think, you can move, you can make another decision, you can repair something you broke yesterday, you can apologize, you can try again, you can love someone, you can become someone different. And yet most mornings, we barely notice any of it. We wake up and immediately start chasing what we don't have. More money, more success, more attention, more recognition, more answers. We're constantly looking toward the next thing while completely overlooking the miracle of the thing we already possess, the present moment. Imagine 2 people waking up on the same morning. The first person reaches for his phone before his feet even touch the floor. He sees emails, bad news, messages, bills, social media posts, and other people's achievements. Within 60 seconds, his mind is already comparing, worrying, and reacting. The second person opens his eyes and simply takes 3 slow breaths. He looks around. He realizes, I'm still here. He places his hand over his heart and quietly says, I'm grateful to be here. Nothing about his external circumstances changed, but internally, everything changed. That is the power of gratitude. Gratitude isn't pretending that life is perfect. It isn't ignoring your problems. And it certainly doesn't mean you should stop wanting to improve your life. It means you refuse to become so obsessed with what is missing that you forget what is already here. The Stoics understood how fragile life really is. We act as though tomorrow is guaranteed. We assume we'll have another conversation with that person, another opportunity, another morning, another chance to say what we should have said. But life doesn't make those promises. One unexpected phone call can change everything. One accident, one diagnosis, one goodbye, one moment can remind you how much you were taking for granted. That's why gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is perspective. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to appreciate the simple privilege of being alive, to breathe, to think, to love, and to experience another day. So, tomorrow morning, don't begin your day by asking, "What do I need?" Ask yourself, "What do I already have?" You have another morning, you have another chance, you have time to change, you have time to make things right, you have time to become stronger. Before the world tells you what you should want, remind yourself of what you already possess. Take 3 slow breaths and say, "I'm grateful to be here." Don't rush through those words. Feel them. Because when you begin the day from gratitude, you don't spend the entire day desperately searching for peace. You started with it, and that changes everything. Number 2, yesterday doesn't own me. Have you ever gone to bed exhausted, slept for hours, and still woken up tired? Not physically tired, mentally tired. Because your body was sleeping, but your mind was still living yesterday. Maybe you keep replaying an argument. Maybe you said something you regret. Maybe someone embarrassed you. Maybe you missed an opportunity. Maybe you made a mistake at work. Maybe someone rejected you. And somehow, the moment you wake up, your mind presses play again. Same memory, same regret, same pain. It's like carrying yesterday's suitcase into a brand new day and wondering why your shoulders hurt. But here's the truth. Yesterday is finished. You can learn from it. You can take responsibility for it. You can apologize because of it. You can become wiser because of it. But you cannot live there. Too many people spend years mentally revisiting moments that lasted only a few minutes. They keep asking, "What if I had said this? What if I had made that decision? What if I hadn't trusted that person? What if I hadn't made that mistake?" But the past doesn't become different because you keep thinking about it. All that happens is that you sacrifice another piece of your present. This is why one of the most powerful things you can tell yourself each morning is, "Yesterday doesn't own me." Say it again. Yesterday doesn't own me. Your past may explain some of your wounds, but it does not have the authority to decide your future. You are not the worst thing you ever did. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the relationship that ended. You are not the mistake you made. You are the person who decides what happens next. Imagine waking up tomorrow and visualizing every regret as a heavy stone inside a backpack. One stone for every mistake, one for every embarrassing moment, one for every disappointment, one for every person who hurt you. Now imagine taking that backpack off. You don't have to pretend those things never happened. You simply stop carrying them everywhere. That's what emotional discipline looks like. You take the lesson, you leave the weight. The Stoics understood that we cannot control what has already happened, but we can control what we do with what happened. Maybe yesterday was terrible. Maybe you lost your temper. Maybe you failed. Maybe you made the wrong choice. Fine. Learn. Adjust. Move. Because today is not obligated to repeat yesterday. Every morning is another blank page, and if you keep writing yesterday's story on today's page, you'll never create anything new. So tomorrow morning, before you get out of bed, take a deep breath and say, "Yesterday doesn't own me." Then ask yourself, what can I do today that the person I was yesterday could not? That question moves you forward, not because the past disappears, but because you stop allowing it to drive. You don't need to forget yesterday. You simply need to stop living inside it. Yesterday had its chance. Today is yours. Number 3, I control my mind. Your phone isn't the only thing with notifications. Your mind has them too. One thought, another worry, another memory, another what if, another problem, another imaginary conversation. Before you know it, your mind has opened 20 different tabs and you're mentally exhausted before breakfast. This is how many people live. They don't choose their thoughts. They simply follow them. A thought appears and they believe it. An emotion appears and they obey it. Someone says something rude and they react. Something goes wrong, and their entire mood collapses. They become passengers inside their own minds. But the Stoics believe something radically different. You may not control everything that happens around you, but you can train yourself to control your response. Marcus Aurelius expressed this idea powerfully. You have power over your mind, not over outside events. Think about how much freedom exists inside that sentence. You can't control someone's opinion of you, but you can control whether you let that opinion destroy your confidence. You can't control traffic, but you can control whether you spend the next 30 minutes becoming furious. You can't control whether someone disappoints you, but you can control whether their behavior turns you into someone you don't want to be. You can't control every thought that enters your mind, but you can decide which thoughts deserve your attention. That's why tomorrow morning, before checking your phone, say, "I control my mind." Then sit quietly for 60 seconds. No music, no scrolling, no messages. Just breathe. Thoughts will come. Let them. Don't fight them, don't chase them, don't judge them, watch them pass. Because there is a space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where your power lives. Someone can insult you. There is a moment before you respond. Someone can send you an angry message. There is a moment before you answer. Something can go wrong. There is a moment before you decide what it means. That tiny moment is where self-mastery begins. You don't become mentally strong by never experiencing anger, fear, anxiety, or doubt. You become mentally strong by learning that you don't have to obey every emotion you feel. Your mind is a tool. Train it. If you spend every morning consuming outrage, comparison, negativity, and endless distractions, you train your brain toward chaos. But if you begin your mornings with breathing, reflection, gratitude, and intention, you train yourself toward calm. You are practicing every single morning, and like any practice, repetition makes you stronger. So when your mind begins pulling you toward anger tomorrow, pause. When it pulls you toward fear, breathe. When it tells you that everything is going wrong, observe the thought instead of immediately believing it, and remind yourself, I control my mind. Not perfectly, not every second, but more than you think. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is returning faster. You will lose your patience sometimes. You will overthink. You will react when you wish you had responded. That's human. But every time you notice and return, you're getting stronger. The world may be loud, but you don't have to become loud inside. You can choose your center. You can choose your response. You can choose your mind. Number 4, kindness is my superpower. Have you ever met someone who didn't need to dominate a room to have an impact? They weren't the loudest person. They weren't trying to impress anyone. They didn't need everyone's attention. But somehow, when they entered the room, everything felt calmer. People felt safe around them. People wanted to talk to them. People trusted them. That kind of presence is powerful. And surprisingly, one of the foundations of that presence is something the modern world often mistakes for weakness: kindness. But real kindness is not weakness. It is self-control. Anyone can be cruel when they're angry. Anyone can insult someone when their ego feels threatened. Anyone can become cold after being hurt. But staying calm when you have every reason to react, that's strength. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the power of sincere kindness. And this is important because kindness doesn't mean allowing people to disrespect you. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can speak gently and still speak the truth. You can refuse to participate in someone's drama without becoming hateful yourself. That's the difference between kindness and weakness. Weakness says, I have to be cruel because I was hurt. Strength says, I refuse to become the thing that hurt me. Think about the last time someone was rude to you for no obvious reason. Maybe a coworker snapped at you. Maybe a stranger insulted you. Maybe someone you love spoke to you in a way that felt unfair. Your first instinct might have been to fight back, but what if you paused? What if you reminded yourself, I don't know what battle this person is fighting. Maybe they're carrying pain you know nothing about. Maybe they're stressed, maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're dealing with something completely unrelated to you. That doesn't excuse bad behavior, but understanding it can stop you from absorbing it. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of understanding our own darkness because it helps us understand the darkness in others. And this is where kindness becomes powerful. You stop taking everything personally. You begin looking beneath the behavior. The angry person may be hurting. The arrogant person may be insecure. The impatient person may be overwhelmed. The person attacking you may be fighting an invisible battle. Again, that doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It means you choose clarity over ego. Tomorrow morning say, kindness is my superpower. Then choose one person you can make life slightly easier for. Maybe give someone a sincere compliment. Maybe listen without interrupting. Maybe send a message to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe simply be patient with the person who is having a difficult morning. You never know what that small act could mean to someone. You could be the one good interaction they experience that day. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you choose kindness, you reinforce an identity. You become someone who responds intentionally instead of impulsively. Someone who doesn't need to prove their strength through aggression. Someone who can remain gentle without becoming fragile. That's real power. The Stoics weren't trying to create soft people. They were trying to create disciplined people. People who could face hardship, betrayal, loss, pressure, and uncertainty without abandoning their principles. And kindness was part of that strength. So tomorrow morning, remind yourself, kindness is my superpower. Not because you need everyone to like you, not because everyone deserves unlimited access to you, but because you get to decide who you become. And you should never allow someone else's bad behavior to choose your character for you. Number 5, time is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. Now we arrive at the phrase I want you to remember most, because this one can change the way you see your entire life. Have you ever looked at the calendar and suddenly realized another month has disappeared? Another year, another birthday, another summer, another chapter, and you wonder, where did all the time go? That's the frightening thing about time. It doesn't announce when it's leaving. It simply passes. You can be 20 and suddenly you're 30. You can have children who seem tiny one day and suddenly they're grown. You can sit across from someone you love and never realize that one of your final ordinary conversations with them is happening right now. That's why the Stoics practiced memento mori, remembering that life is temporary. Not because they wanted to live in fear, quite the opposite. They wanted to wake up. Because when you understand that nothing is guaranteed, ordinary moments become extraordinary. That cup of coffee isn't just coffee. It's a morning you will never experience again. That conversation isn't just a conversation. It's a moment that is already disappearing while you're living it. The sound of your child's laughter, the quiet of your home, the sunlight coming through the window, the walk you almost skipped, the friend sitting beside you. These moments seem insignificant while they're happening, until one day they become memories. And that's when you realize something painful. You weren't missing life because you didn't have enough. You were missing it because you weren't paying attention. So much of our existence happens somewhere else. We're physically here, but mentally we're trapped in yesterday or worried about tomorrow. We're eating while scrolling, talking while checking our phones, walking while thinking about work, resting while worrying about the future. We're constantly preparing to live, but life is already happening, right now. This breath, this second, this exact moment. That's why tomorrow morning say, time is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. Don't misunderstand that phrase. It doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities. It doesn't mean becoming careless. It doesn't mean refusing to plan for the future. It means refusing to sacrifice every present moment for a future that isn't guaranteed. You can work toward your goals while still enjoying the road. You can build a better future without hating your current life. You can be ambitious without being absent, because what good is reaching the destination if you were too distracted to experience the journey? Seneca understood this deeply. A meaningful life requires learning how to live in the present rather than constantly depending on some future moment to finally make us happy. So tomorrow, slow down. When you drink your coffee, taste it. When you walk outside, notice the air. When someone speaks to you, actually listen. When you hug someone you love, don't rush away. When you're alone, don't immediately reach for your phone. Look around, you are here. And one day, you will desperately wish you could return to an ordinary morning like this one, but you won't be able to. That's why this moment matters, not because it is perfect, because it is temporary, and temporary things are precious. So tomorrow morning, before the world gets access to your attention, remember these 5 phrases. I'm grateful to be here. Yesterday doesn't own me. I control my mind. Kindness is my superpower. Time is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. 5 sentences, less than a minute. But don't underestimate simple things repeated consistently. Your life isn't transformed by one inspirational morning. It's transformed by what you repeatedly choose. Every morning, you get another opportunity to decide who you will be. Will you wake up and immediately surrender your mind to notifications, opinions, problems, comparisons, and fear? Or will you take those first few moments back? Will you begin from gratitude instead of lack? From release instead of regret, from control instead of chaos, from kindness instead of ego, from presence instead of distraction? You don't need to control the entire day. You only need to control the way you enter it. And maybe that's the real lesson the Stoics were trying to give us. If these 5 phrases spoke to something you've been struggling with, don't just listen to them once and forget them. Choose the one you need most and make it your morning mantra for the next 7 days. And if you want to commit to that change, write this phrase in the comments. I choose my mind. I choose my life. Let that be your promise, not to become perfect, but to become more intentional, more peaceful, and more awake to the life you're already living. If this video gave you even one moment of clarity, subscribe to Stoic Horizon and stay with us. Because we're not here just to collect quotes from ancient philosophers. We're here to turn timeless wisdom into a life you can actually live. Your next morning can be different, not because the world changed overnight, but because you did.